Well, first, good day to you all. It's our favorite time of the week, apart from 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night for the Second Gear Talk Show. We in the Second Gear Production Studio, and it's our Sports and GT Masters Series from Brands Hatch in Touring Cars. Joining me, Mike Side, the voice of West Bromwich Motorsport, the man that will be entertaining you at Killarney International this Saturday. Frankie Innes. Frankie, good evening to you.
Gaza, good evening, and good evening to everybody at home. Yes, as Gary was saying, we are in Season 5 of the iRacing Master Series, and we come to you from the city of Kent in the United Kingdom in England, and we're doing the Grand Prix configuration of the Brands Hatch circuit. The track just over 3Ks, just under 4Ks in length. We 131 meters above sea level, 20 degrees Celsius outside, partly cloudy, and only 3 kilometer an hour wind. And we are coming to you today in touring cars, and this is going to be very interesting stuff, to say the least.
Yeah, something completely different. Like, what an iconic circuit. You just hear the voice of Murray Walker when you talk about Paddock, Gilbend, Pilgrim's Rise, Druids, Hawthorne, Portobello, Dingle Dell, Sterling's, Clearways. I mean, that is classic names from a classic circuit that's been around for many years.
Yeah, they do lots of other forms of motorsport here in the UK. I know it's also very famous for the British touring car series. So we are nearly 3 minutes into the qualifying session as we watch the drivers making their way around. The cars that they will be using today will be Hyundais, Hondas, and of course Audis. That's the 3 makes of cars that the drivers are using out. And that man that you see out on track in the Honda Civic, a total giveaway, the Monster Energy number 14, and that is Johan Fourie.
Probably find he'll be pretty much on the front row of the grid with that man. Look easy. I had a chance to practice with the guys on 2 of the practice sessions that we've had up until today. You'll see Luke working hard there on getting the back tires heated up. Now, what we did find for all with the Audi is that the back tires take at least a lap and a half to heat up. So anybody that's out there in an Audi, the likes of Sandro Beccari, Willem Pinaar, Gerald Maget, and Timothy Stanton, are going to find some very loose tail ends for the first lap and a half. Are the others also tending to be tail happy initially? Yes, they are. The problem is that on the warm-up, it's very difficult to get enough temperature into the tires, and literally a lap and a half is the minimum. What happens is, under braking, the tail end tends to try and steer itself and steer the car from there, and that's what creates the problem. So the fastest man initially is that man, Frankie?
Johan Fourie with a 132.267, and then Willem Botha only 0.8 of a second in there behind him. Willem out there in the Best Water Technology sponsored Hyundai, and he is 0.8 of a second behind Johan Fourie. Then in third position, so far 1.2 seconds behind Johan Fourie. In the Hyundai is André Steenkamp, and then the Honda in fourth place, 1.3 seconds behind Johan Fourie, is Peter Hubert.
Yeah, Peter looking pretty good out there. I must say that's a nice looking motor car, that Honda that he's in. In behind that, the comeback kid himself, Rob B-Teens, he'll have the Denso colors on his motor cars. He works his way through the down the clearways straight and up into top straight, and that takes you down towards Paddock Hill Bend with the Denso car. Johan Fourie and Willem Botha on the front row of the grid. Peter Hubert finds himself on the third row of the grid now with the Honda. Sandro Beccari has got himself now up onto the third row of the grid, and Peter van der Spey onto the second row of the grid. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, Captain Pete just under 133 there. That's a PB there for Peter van der Spey. That's in that third position. All the way down to Gerald Maget. That's 3.8 seconds so far behind the provisional pole sitter. And that is Johan Fourie. A couple of personal bests coming through there for André Steenkamp and for Johan Engelbrecht, and for Luc Lequez as well, a 132.548 so far, putting Luke there in that second position, only 0.5 of a second behind your provisional pole sitter.
Keep in mind that's still on semi-cold tires and getting into it, so you'll probably find that they're going to do sub 1 minute 32s in the not too distant future. Good couple of guys that's battling at the moment. The likes of Graham Stephen has found himself in a somewhat awkward position. His pedals have packed up on him, and he's got a good old-fashioned 16-year-old set of G29 pedals, exactly the same as what I've got. They look antique, they work antique, but well, if anybody can make them work, it's Graham Stephen. So feedback on the pedals going to be very, very limited. Trail braking with the left foot's going to be even more difficult with that. And obviously, Graham's going to have to do a lot of setups to try and get around that. Still quick enough to be ahead of that man, Willem Pinaar.
Yeah, Willem Pinaar rounds off the top 10, and he's 1.8 seconds behind Johan Fourie.
Ooh!
Is Willem Pinaar, and look at Peter Hubert popping up there into that second position with a PB of a 132.484, demoting Lucchesi down into that third position so far, with André Steenkamp, Willem Botha, and Peter van der Spy. So far, that's your first 3 rows of the grid, but we have got just over 2 minutes still to go in this qualifying stint.
Luke Lucchesi decides to make sure that it's not... Oh! Just missed that tyre barrier. Luke Lucchesi makes sure that he doesn't lose contact there with Johan Fourie and pops himself back up onto the front row of the grid. Peter van der Spy still out there. Most of the guys have done their qualifying laps already. Johan Fourie has done both of his qualifiers, and he's parked off in the pits. I think Luke Lucchesi is still out there at the moment. André Steenkamp, Willem Botha, and Graham Stephen still out there as well. Let's see, where does Graham find himself? His golf colors, he likes those golf colors. It looks like he's just he's finished the laps that he can do, so he's going to be parked in that car. Willem Botha, the Best Water Technologies car, on the third row of the grid. Can he bump it up?
Well, let's have a look and see. Willem Botha comes around to start another lap, and it looks like he's going to stay there in that fifth position. 9 tenths behind Johan Fourie is Willem Botha, as he busy makes his way around. So we've got a minute and a half left before the checkered flag comes out on this qualifying stint, and the race itself will be a 40-minute race with 50% fuel capacity. So we'll have to look and see exactly when these drivers will make their pit stop. But right now, we are approaching the final minute of this qualifying session.
Well, literally in the last minute of qualifying, Renier Hubert, who you see is not up on screen yet, he pops up onto my monitor, and he's trying to put a time in there. Herman Lazarus, unfortunately, been battling to try and get in, and he has not been able to link in. So Herman probably watching us on 108.0p live on Second Gear Productions on YouTube. Herman, good evening to you. Pity that you weren't able to get it together. I know you did do quite a bit of practicing to get as quick as what you could for tonight. Let's see what Renier Hubert can do. Was that exciting lap, or was that his real one? I think that was in fact the cycling lap, and that means that the Renier Hubert is not going to have time to put up a completed lap, and that means that Renier is going to be starting probably 17th and back of the grid.
Yeah, so we'll have to look and see. 10 seconds left in this qualifying session as we watch the drivers busy making their way around the circuit. So the qualifying session is over and done. 10 minutes up, the computer will log them off, and then we will get ready to grid. So your grid positions will be, the moment we get that lot sorted out, Johan Fourie and Luke Lucchesi will be on the front row of the grid, followed there by Peter Hubert, André Steenkamp, and the third row will be Willem Botha and Peter van der Spy.
Yep, on the fourth row of the grid, Sandra Bakari and Leonardo, who has moved out of South Africa. He will probably be back with us next week. So Sandra Bakari and Robbie Teen, 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th, going to Timothy Stanton and Graham Stephen.
11 and 12 will be Willem Pinaar, Wayne Camage, followed there by Colin Plitt, Johan Engelbrecht, Ian Riddle, Gerald Mouget, and Renier Hubert. And Herman Lazarus has got on, and he will qualify stone last. Well, he's got no option but to qualify stone last. He never put in a lap time at all. So 18 cars out there for this touring car action race from Brands Hatch in Kent in England.
Well, he shows up on my screen, but as having entered the session, but not as being actually on screen. So, yeah, let's see what happens. I hope that the computer doesn't place him on the grid and leave him standing on the grid. That could create a bit of chaos. So, yeah, anything's quite possible at this stage of the fight. So, Johan Fourie and Luc Lucchesi, front row of the grid. Pieter Joubert and Andre Steenkamp alongside one another on the second row with Willem Botha and Peter van der Spy.
Well, Graham Stephen has not gridded yet, and we are about to go green as away they go. This is lap one of 40 minutes, and it is Johan Fourie and Luc Lucchesi. Look at Willem Botha in that third place, trying to have a go there at the Lucchesi. Right behind him is Andre Steenkamp. Those first four cars, followed there by Pieter Joubert. Sander Bakari is in it as well. As they're busy making their way around, there is nothing between these guys at this point in time. As the two leaders, Johan Fourie and Luc Lucchesi, are trying early enough to pull a disappearing maneuver away from the rest of the field.
I think that was Andre Steenkamp that went off track, if I've got it correct. We'll pick up all the off tracks after the first two laps that have been done. It's Johan Fourie and Luc Lucchesi that protect the front row of the grid. They hold those two front positions. Willem Botha in the Best Water Technologies car looking very good there in that third position. Now we know, Frankie, Willem Botha, when he's on song, he is all conquering.
Yeah, Willem Botha is pretty damn good when it all goes right for him. He's sitting there in that third position, right behind Luc Lucchesi. Then it's Pieter Joubert. Right behind him is Sander Bakari. And rounding off the top six is the Audi of Timothy Stanton. That is your top six cars. Then in there behind him is Peter van der Spy. Right behind van der Spy is the Denso car there of Robbie Teens. And then right behind him is Wayne Cabbage and the Castrol Audi of Willem Pinaar. That rounds off your top 10.
The two of them pretty close to one another. Willem Pinaar right in there as well. So it's already taking on the might of the Hondas, but going back to the front end of the field, it's Johan Fourie. Oh, Lucchesi's gone. Lucchesi's gone, and that is a very difficult spot to actually hold it all together. You've got to come in high and deep, and you've got to literally trail break it all the way through until you can pick up the inner curbstone. And by the time you get to that inner curbstone, you've been completely unsighted of that curbstone. As I see, Willem Botha also ran it very, very wide on turn number 2. That was going into bottom bend. That he ran it very wide, but he held it together pretty decently, I must say. So let's have a look at that Luc Lucchesi situation. It was, wow, that was very much unexpected, I must say. Luc Lucchesi was pushing very hard at that stage of the fight, trying to hold on to the pace of Johan Fourie. Just lost the tail end. Remember I said to you, you battled to get temperature into the back tires. Well, that's exactly what happens. And look how long it's going to take him to get that one going again. He's well sighted of what's coming along. There you'll see the cheaper car coming through. And then he collects the virtually tail end of the field by the time he gets back on track. So the man leading out is that man, Johan Fourie.
Yeah, Johan Fourie sitting out there in P1 as he makes his way through the final corner, working his way up the main straight. As he makes his way up that main straight now, heading in towards a paddock hill, and then he'll drop down towards Druids. There is Willem Botha. Botha in that second position, and he's 3.2 seconds behind Johan Fourie, and all over the back of Botha, 9/10 of a second is Pieter Joubert. And then there's a fight going on up there for that, well, there was one going on for that fifth position between Timothy Stanton and Peter van der Spy. So a lot of personal best times coming through as well. There is Pieter Joubert. He's sitting right on the case. That's a replay, same replay there of Luc Lucchesi going off. And in sympathy, Willem Botha also lost the circuit there, busy just following the drive in front of him. And then he lost the track as well. Colin Plitt also busy bouncing around the place, as you see Luc Lucchesi trying to get back on again, as Colin Plitt just rescued that one. So, Peter Hubert in that third position. Colin Plitt is there in that pit lane. As we have a look at Peter Hubert, there he comes in there. He is 1.1 seconds behind Willem Botha, and 2.4 seconds behind him is Sandro Bakari. Then Timothy Stanton sitting out there in that fifth position, and Lucas right in there behind Timothy Stanton. Peter van der Spy only 1.1 seconds behind him, and then right on the case of van der Spy is, there he goes, that Denzo man, and that is Robbie Teens, and he is crowding the back end there of van der Spy as Peter Hubert makes his way into pit lane.
Well, that's a bit of a turn up for the books, because Peter Hubert was right up top there in that third position. So Johan Fourie and Willem Botha have now got himself a fair amount of breathing space. There's first place, there's second place. Look at the gap then back to Sandro Bakari. Behind Sandro Bakari, there is Timothy Stanton, and then that Robbie Teens battle rages on just behind that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is a heck of a fight there as we ride on board with Robbie Teens. He's 0.6 of a second behind Peter van der Spy. That's the man that you see in there ahead of him. The two Hyundais are busy hunting each other down for that fifth position, and in turn, van der Spy is only 1.1 seconds behind the Timothy Stanton Audi that you see just there ahead of him, and just ahead of Timothy going through that corner. There is Sandro Bakari, who's 1.3 seconds ahead of Timothy Stanton as we ride aboard the Robbie Teens Hyundai, chasing down and looking at the back end there of the Hyundai of Peter van der Spy.
Through Dingle-Dell down towards Sterling's, you drop it down into Sterling in the third gear, now up to fourth gear through the clearway straight. And this is also one of those blind rise corners. You've got to be on the brakes and line it up without being able to see the apex whatsoever. You see how he's playing with the throttle as he works his way through. Now he gets it out onto the top straight. Now going uphill, look at the blind rise entry into Paddock Hill Bend on the brakes. This is where Luke Kukisi lost out. As you see, the car gets very, very light and drops down into the dip underneath the Carlu Bridge and into that 90-degree Paddock Hill Bend. You go all the way down through the gearbox, easily pick up lots of wheel spin there, up into third gear. Now you've got to brake very, very early. Use that curbstone on the inside. You'll see there is a brick surface on the outside of the curbstones on the right-hand side of that bend, and you've got to use all of that. This one, you've got to go in very deep, turn it tight, and make sure you miss that curbstone on the outside as you work your way through Pilgrims down towards Pilgrims Drop.
Right, I'm watching that fight out there for ninth position. That is Johan Engelbrecht. And right in there behind Johan Engelbrecht is that man coming back, and that is Luke Lucchesi. He's come all the way from 17th position up into that 10th place, and he's only 1.5 seconds behind Johan Engelbrecht. And right behind him, there's a fight going on between Riddle and Steenkamp. I think Riddle just made the overtaking maneuver there on Andre Steenkamp as we ride aboard there with Pantera Racing's Luke Lucchesi, and he has moved up into that ninth position, and he's made the move there on Engelbrecht, dropping Engelbrecht down into P10, and he's now a second ahead there of Johan Engelbrecht is Luke Lucchesi.
Well, it looks like Robbie Teens has got himself into a fair-sized battle as well, as we see Robbie Teens now closing up as quick as he possibly can onto the tail end of Peter van der Spy. That's 0.4 of a second as they work their way down into Druids. Druids been a full 182nd gear, big wheel spin possibility coming out of that corner. And look at the cars as they work their way through that curbstone. You'll see there's a dark patch on the outside of that curbstone, and that's where there's the brick paving interspersed with the grass, and the people often use that one.
Yeah, watching out there for Willem Pina. He's only 1.3 seconds behind Robbie Teens. That's a Teens car you see all over the back of Van der Spy. Then behind him is the Castrol car of Willem Pina. There Willem comes into view now on the top of your screen, and that is Pina. Oh, dropping down is Sandro Bakari showing us out there. I don't know if he's got connectivity problems or what, but Sandro Bakari, for whatever reason, is just dropping down the leaderboard.
Yeah, for some other reason, I'm not sure. We'll try and pick up what exactly has happened there. But yes, Sandro Bakari has dropped a long way down. I don't see any specific incidents for Sandro Bakari. So yeah, maybe a connectivity problem. Eskom springs bigger surprises on us than married life these days.
So Teens sitting out there in that fifth position, 9/10 of a second behind fourth place man Peter van der Spy. There Van der Spy turns in just ahead there of Peter van der Spy. You can see Timothy Stanton, and he's only a second behind Timothy Stanton. As a matter of fact, he's closing right up on him. And that Johan Engelbrecht making his way around and losing the circuit, and that will release Luke Lucchesi. So that was a replay there of Engelbrecht, and that is how Luke Lucchesi made the move there on Engelbrecht. And
he had a second off circuit, Frankie, and
Yes.
That was just after clearways going up into the front main. That's that blind rise where you can't see the apex whatsoever. You see the Denso car coming past him there as well. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff. 50% fuel when they started, and Johan Fourie, look at that open road in front of him.
Oh, gee whiz, Johan Fourie is nearly 5 seconds. Yes, he's now 5 seconds ahead there of Willem Botha in that second position. And Willem, in turn, is 9.3 seconds ahead of Timothy Stanton. So massive gaps between Fourie and Botha and Stanton. But Stanton is not in a happy space at this point in time, because he's got Peter van der Spy, Robbie Teens, and for that matter, Willem Pinaar all over his back bumper as we look under that wing there of the Peter van der Spy Hyundai, looking back there at the Denso Hyundai of Robbie Teens.
Listen to how he feathers it, 2 gears down, feather it, hammer it as you get down into the dip, going down towards Paddock Bend. The Denso car closing up very much under braking. Look at that N-Series Hyundai. It's really on the move. Robbie Teens, the comeback kid, right in there behind Peter van der Spy. There you'll see all that bricks that I spoke about. That's what it was as they work their way through to turn number 4.
But right behind Robbie Teens is Willem Pinaar. There you can see Willem Pinaar in that Castrol car, and Luke Lucchesi is in P7. Luke Lucchesi, there he comes at the top end of your screen. He has got missile lock on this combination of Van der Spy, Teens and Pinaar, and he will fancy his chances. He's now only 2.5 seconds behind Willem Pinaar is Luke Lucchesi, and that is Lucchesi going through, and right behind him, only 9/10 of a second behind Lucchesi, is the Honda of Wayne Camage.
Well, let's have a look at the last lap times that they have done. What is Luke doing? 1:32.3. Everybody in front of him is on 1:33s except for the man up front, Johan Fourie. What Johan Fourie is obviously listening to us. He just goes and pops in a personal best there, and fastest lap for everybody, a 1:32.156 as the fuel starts working its way down. So Luke Lucchesi is faster than everybody up to that second position. I think that's going to be the man to track for now on an onboard.
Yeah, this is the fight we're going to watch from Johan Fourie all the way down to Luke Lucchesi as we ride on board there with Luke Lucchesi. Lucchesi, look how quick he's caught up onto the back end of Pinaar. He's leaving Wayne Camage behind. He's 2.2 seconds ahead now of Wayne Camage, and only 0.6 of a second behind Willem Pinaar as Luke Lucchesi is trying very hard. You hear him there on that rumble strip as he chases down the Castrol Hyundai, Castrol Audi, I apologize, of Willem Pinaar just there ahead of him, and he literally has got him. He has caught him now as they make their way through. I think that's Clearways.
It's called Drop running into Hawthorne.
Okay, so as he sits right on his case there, and he's got him, he's going to nail him now. Surely, no, he doesn't make the move on him yet, but one gets the feeling it's just a matter of time, and pressure tells as Luke Lucchesi gets his nose ahead there of Willem Pinaar.
That was very close. Rubbing is racing, I suppose, if you really look at it. But wow, that was something else. Through Sterling's they go, using the curbstone and more. Now the next one he wants to get hold of is Robbie Teens. Robbie Teens half a second behind Peter van der Spy, just ahead of that is Timothy Stanton. Timothy Stanton, a top 3 runner right now, having been out of the country for a period of time. He went to, I think it was England, to go and visit the kids, and he's back into the iRacing again, and very quickly got himself back up on pace. Maybe he brought some go fast parts, and that's not the right way to go as you go down through top straight. But even with that, Luke Lucchese is still closing on Robbie Teagues.
Yeah, this will be, I want to see an outside view of this lot because the 4 of them are right there with each other. Luke Lucchese there on Robbie Teagues, and Robbie Teagues on the other hand is all over Peter van der Spy, who's all over Timothy Stanton. It's only Fourie and Botha that's in safe or in a safety zone at this point in time, because there's 12 seconds between Stanton and Botha, but Stanton is under severe attack here from Peter van der Spy, Robbie Teagues and Luke Lucchese. And just what Luke Lucchese did to Wayne Camage, now he's doing the same thing to Willem Pinaar. He's pulling away from Willem, and Willem is now 2.3 seconds behind Luke Lucchese, and Lucchese is now 0.3 of a second behind Robbie Teagues. He'll fancy having a go at Robbie Teagues and at Peter van der Spy, but now Teagues cannot worry too much about van der Spy. He has to play the defensive game and attempt somehow to keep Luke Lucchese behind him.
Oh, as they come through the dip, I don't believe that it's going to be long before he works his way past that man in front of him. 0.17, 0.16, 0.15 is closing all the time. To have a go into turn 1 is going to be a very dangerous spot. Remember, that's where he lost it last time around, and Robbie Teagues decides, no, he's not going to take a chance. He's rather going to let that one go.
Well, that is now making the way through that hairpin. That is a Druids. Working the way out of Druids now. Luke Lucchese, the next man on his hit list will be that number 17 car of Peter van der Spy, and he is only 0.8 of a second behind Peter van der Spy. Make that 0.7 as he's all over the back there of van der Spy. Van der Spy is all over the back of Timothy Stanton as well. And Luke will say, man, definitely a top 3 here. But Gazza, 50% fuel, 40 minutes. Will pit stops come into play in this one? Personally, I think so.
Yeah, knowing the way that Mike said, although Mike's not here with us this week, I think he might have actually been out of the country for this week, saying, Sandra, you set it up for us. But knowing the way that Mike normally does it, you'll probably find flashing lights. Although Peter van der Spy is looking in the mirror and saying, but we're fighting for position. Why are you flashing your lights at me? I think this is a show of intent. Peter, I be a coming.
A lot of damage on the back end there of that Luke Lucchese Honda. You'll have a look now when he goes through. He's all over the back there of that 17 captain. Peter van der Spy is in trouble. Van der Spy is in trouble, and the trouble is called Luke Lucchese for Pantera Racing. Luke Lucchese makes the move stick there on Peter van der Spy, moves up into 4th position, and using the entire Brands Hatch circuit and a touch more. And now he's all over the back end there, 0.5 of a second on the back bumper there of Timothy Stanton.
I think Timothy Stanton will realize this man's got missile lock on the back of my motor. Oh, you see there you can see that bricks very neatly that everybody uses on the outside. But that you can't use it all the time because it actually gives you DQs, and 17 of those, and you've got to do a drive-through penalty. Look how close he is, and he's going for the move.
Yeah, only a matter of time there on Timothy Stanton. He's not going to, well, he'll try to defend. It's not going to help much. And bang, into 3rd position goes Luke Lucchese. And he'll now pull away from Stanton, Van der Spy, Teagues, and Pinaar for that matter. He'll just leave them behind. And he's 12.7 seconds behind Willem Botha. That is in turn 8.1 seconds behind Johan Fourie. There's a Denso man, Gary, in that 6th position, Robbie Teagues.
Yep, well, he's held on pretty decently. I see Johan Engelbrecht is closing on the tail end of Ian Riddle at the moment, and he's within 0.3. Remember, Johan Engelbrecht had that off earlier on, and that's dropped him way down from where he wants to be. Oh, he had a look on the inside, and he turned himself inside out in trying not to make contact there with Ian. Ian kept the racing line. He felt that he was on the right position there and held onto it. And Johan Engelbrecht has to get himself going again. That's going to drop him a long way down. Rene Rubert was the car that came through there. Remember, Renier, that was the very last man to come up on screen for the qualifying, and that to start off the tail end of the field. Look at that in the background. You can't get that golf car very much more sideways than that. Going back to the front end of the field, yeah, the question now is, how has this one been set up? Is the 50% fuel enough? Or are we going to go for pit stops? Knowing Johan Fourie, he'll go for the early splash and dash.
Well, it's all been about Luke Lucchese for the last couple of races. It hasn't played in his favor in this one. He's fought back hard to get into that third position. But from a Johan Fourie point of view, this is where he needs to capitalize and get a win here. But Gary, look at that fight there for fourth position. There are three of them in that. Stanton has now got Van der Spey and Ting. So that fight is order restored the moment that Luke Lucchese worked his way through. And here comes Fourie, 20 minutes into the 40-minute stint. And Johan Fourie makes his way into pit lane.
Well, Mbote decides not yet. I don't need to go. He takes the Best Water Technologies car through. What does Luke Lucchese do? He goes straight past the entrance to the pits and keeps on trucking. Timothy Stanton's through, Peter van der Spey's through, and it is going to be Robbie Teams that's going to dive into the pits.
Yeah, Robbie Teams making his way into pit lane. Willem Pina is coming through as well. And so is the rest of the guys. Camage and Steenkamp also busy making their way through. As making his way out of the pits is Johan Fourie. And Johan Fourie joining there in that sixth position.
Well, if you think then everybody behind him, Wayne Cabbage, Andre Steenkamp, Robbie Teams, Ian Riddle, all of them still got a pit stop to do, and that's going to then open up the highway behind him. There'll be no problem there. Let's have a look at who has done pit stops, and let's have a look, in fact, at the pit time so far. Now, Johan Fourie standing for 15.7, Robbie Teams for 14, so Robbie took less fuel on. Peter Hubert, 42 seconds when he was in, so that was to fix some damage.
Yeah, Ian Riddle is making his way up the pits, but he was in there for 14.3 seconds. As you see, Ian Riddle making his way out in car number 6, going back out onto track again. Ian Riddle in that Hyundai. But Willem Botha at this point in time dives into pit lane. Coming out the final corner, through clearways, through the final corner, and into pit lane goes Botha. Will Luke Lucchese follow suit? I think he might. Yes, he does. And Luke Lucchese for Pantera Racing into the pits, and Timothy Stanton goes in, and Van der Spey goes through.
So, Peter van der Spey, 22 minutes and 5 seconds, says, I can still go a little bit further. And even if it's only for a lap, Peter van der Spey is going to say, I did lead the Sports and GT Masters at Brands Hatch at one point, and he hasn't stopped. Neither has Andre Steenkamp. Andre Steenkamp's had a pretty decent time. Luke Lucchese is in the pit. Timothy Stanton's in there. Willem Pina's in there. Wayne Camage is in there. But remember, Johan Fourie has already been in and out. So this man, Johan Fourie, 4.7 seconds behind Peter van der Spey. Peter still has to go into the pits. That means that he will be up, dusted, disappeared, driving into Thursday morning already when Peter van der Spey goes into the pits, which will probably be pretty soon.
So effectively, even though you see Van der Spey out there in P1, you could basically say that Johan Fourie is your leader, because as Gazza said, Van der Spey must still make his pit stop. But for now, he's out there in P1 and he's enjoying every moment of it. He's our own Maverick, Captain Peter van der Spey, busy making his way around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit as Van der Spey goes around. Now, he hasn't made a pit stop, and neither has Andre Steenkamp, and neither has Renier Hubert. So will this be the lap that Van der Spey brings that 17 Hyundai into pit lane? We'll have to look and see. Surely he's going to make a pit stop at the end of this lap, and he does.
Right, so where is Johan Fourie? There he comes through. He was just over 4.5 seconds behind. Johan Fourie goes into the lead, and the other man that hadn't been into the pits, Andre Steenkamp, into the pits he goes. So Willem Botha in the Best Water Technologies car works his way through back into that second position, and well, only 6.2 behind Johan Fourie. Can he reel Johan in? I don't think there's enough cars on the track to really get stuck in a fight and be able to make a plan to use any traffic that there is to slow Johan down. But Luke Lucchese, as you said, Frankie, works his way all the back. But you remember, there was 12 seconds between him and the car in front of him. There's now 13 seconds between him and the car in front of him. So Luke Lucchese at this stage, in the last lap or two, has not been able to close up. Let's look at the last lap times that they just did. Luke Lucchese a 36.6 and a 36.0 by Willem Botha. We'll keep an eye on that to see how that closes down.
Yeah, but remember, Lucchese was in the pits, and I think he might have had some traffic as Renier Hubert works his way, and I think he is the last man to make a pit stop. Is Renier Hubert. To my knowledge, everybody that's still in the race has made a pit stop. So, order restored. Fourie, Botha, and Lucchese, they are your top three. As we have a look here at Van der Spey, he's going to have a go at Willem Pinaar. Pinaar in P6, Van der Spey in P7. As he has a go with him, there's only 1.1 seconds between them. And then behind him is another fight for P8 between Wayne Camage and Andre Steenkamp. But for now, we ride aboard with Van der Spey as we flash to this fight between Camage and Steenkamp. Camage out there in the Honda and Steenkamp in the Hyundai as the two of them make their way around, and there's only 0.7 of a second separating Camage from Steenkamp.
Over the blind rise they go, and towards top straight. Oh, he had to feather it big time, and that actually cost him a bit because he was in just a little bit deep. Was Andre Steenkamp as we ride on board with the Rockstar Energy Drink Hyundai. He just feathers it light, and then drop it down into the dip. You'll hear the front spoiler actually bottoms out as we go through there into Paddock Hill Bend. All the way through Paddock Hill Bend they go. Sorry, that's Druids that they were going through now. And then into Bottom Bend, you've got to tap off pretty early and use the curbstones to the best that you possibly can with that one. And now going towards a South Bank corner, very deep, very late entry, unless you want to try the passing maneuver like that, but that's going to cost him straight line speed. Now all the way down this long straight, the next one's going to be the right-hander Hawthorne Bend, where you're going to go just one gear down from where you are now. I don't believe he's going to be able to make the passing maneuver. Lift off one gear down, use that inner curbstone, feather it, use the curbstone on the outside, hold it there, then hard on the brakes, yet another gear down there as you go into Westfield Bend, running it just a little bit wide. In front of him was Wayne Camage down through the dip, through Dingledale, up into that blind rise Dingledale corner. That one's very, very difficult to get right. And down into towards Sterling's, also a pretty mid-section corner there where you've got to have it at the right pace. Now he's got to drive as he works his way down through Clearways.
Through Clearways he goes into the final corner, and Steenkamp, no, up on the inside through the final turn. There's pit lane on the right-hand side, making their way down the home straight towards a Paddock Hill. They are side by side. Steenkamp is there on the inside, and Andre Steenkamp has got his nose ahead there of Wayne Camage. Sliding that Honda V's all over the place as he races down towards the hairpin that is that famous Druids corner, and Steenkamp has now moved up into that 8th position.
Well, that was pretty interesting stuff. I tell you what, that was a good piece of driving by both of them. I see Johan Engelbrecht has had a bit of an incident. Let's see what happened to Johan Engelbrecht. It's just not working out for him. Yeah, using the whole track, and heavy suspension travel on that bump as he went off, and well, I think he had a second off there after. Let's see if it's the same piece of footage. Yeah, it actually shows up as 2 pieces of footage by us, but that is one off that he's had there. So not a happy time for that front suspension. Going back to the front end of the field, Frankie, who's the leader?
Johan Fourie in the Monster Energy Honda, sitting out there in a P1, and he's 7.3 seconds behind the BWT car, the Hyundai of Willem Botha. Now, Willem Botha is 12.5 seconds ahead there of Luke Lucchese. That's just on a personal best. They have a 132.182 for Luke Lucchese. Then in 4th position, we have got the Audi of Timothy Stanton. There is Timothy Stanton coming into view. Timothy Stanton is 5.6 seconds ahead of the Hyundai of Robbie Teens. There's Teens in the Denso colored outfit. Robbie Teens has got Willem Pienaar behind him, and all over the back of Willem Pienaar is the Hyundai of Peter van der Spey. So van der Spey will fancy his chances for a sixth position, and will stick around and have a look at that one as Andre Steenkamp uses Brands Hatch and more, and is 2.7 seconds ahead of Wayne Camage. Now 25 seconds behind Wayne Camage is Peter Hubert. As we focus on that fight, that is Hubert making his way through Druids, as we'll have a look at that fight shortly. That's the one that we want to see there, between the man in P6 in the Audi, Willem Pienaar, and the man in P7 in the Hyundai, Peter van der Spey, and 0.4 of a second separating Pienaar from van der Spey.
Well, nothing much between the two of them at this stage of the fight, just a half a second as they work their way through Sterling. And well, this is where you've got to start making it count. You've got to use that straight line speed. You've got to use the draft that you've got, trying to find that apex as neat as you possibly can. Look at that. He had to actually touch the brakes in the middle of the corner. He knew he was going to be slower. That's why he's gone for that closing line on the inside. And, well, it's going to be a very brave move to come through here. Peter van der Spey. Well, you've got to commit to that one. Can he make it turn fast enough? He's right on the outside of the circuit and fighting back is Willem Pienaar. Willem's got the inside line. I think Willem's going to take a position back. Peter van der Spey as well. You were fair to me. I will be fair to you. Drops back to that position. You've got to be kind of brave, Frankie, into Paddock Hill Bend to go on that inside line and hope that you can actually turn it in time and rotate the car enough before you hit the dip and run towards the outside.
Yeah, and you're going to make that move in Druids corner as well, so you're going to be pretty damn brave for that one. Right, they'll be hitting that kink, and then they'll be going down that long straight towards Hawthorne Bend as they race under the bridge. And that's looking out the front window there of Peter van der Spey. And he is not going to give up there on Willem Pienaar. He's still on the back end of Pienaar. Only 9/10 of a second. He's just under a second. He's van der Spey behind Pienaar. And that is that fight for that sixth position.
You can see that Willem Pienaar is using the whole track and more as he works his way into Sterling's. He's definitely feeling the pressure. I think he's pretty convinced that Peter van der Spey is just a smidgen quicker than what he is. Having lost that ground initially, he hasn't been able to catch up again from there. I must say Willem Pienaar was pretty quick through clearways and out into top straight, and that's actually made a slightly bigger gap between the two of them. Willem Pienaar putting up a 133.9, a 134.5 on that last lap. So Peter did lose a bit of ground. Can he close it up again under braking? Looks like yes, he can.
There's another fight going on out there, the one for Ian Riddle's 11th position. He's got Renier Hubert right on his case. There's a 10th of a second between the two of them, and Riddle is just hanging on here for dear life. Renier is all over the back of him coming out that final corner. Going down that main straight now towards Paddock Hill Bend. There they go. Renier Hubert sits on the outside. Riddle is on the inside as they work their way through Paddock Hill Bend. Then down the Pilgrim's Rise and then into Druids. And here comes Renier Hubert. He's not going to give up. That's that the fight for 11th position as they work their way through Druids.
Well, it doesn't get much closer than that. I must say some very mature driving by all of the drivers in this class tonight. And it's been some beautiful battles that we've been able to watch. Peter Hubert just a little bit further up. Keep an eye on that 7th position. Still a very, very close battle there as we stick with Renier Hubert on Ian Riddle as they work their way towards Pilgrim's Drop.
Yeah, Riddle in the Hyundai, Hubert in the Honda. And the two of them are absolutely nose to tail. Under the bridge they go. Through that dip. Climbing out the other side of the dip. On the gas they go. So we have a look at that front right suspension there of Renier Hubert. And he's having a go at Riddle. He had a go with him, but Ian Riddle covered that line neatly. And Hubert lost a little bit of ground there to Riddle. 7/10 of a second, not too much. But the fight still rages on here for that 6th position between Willem Pienaar and Peter van der Spy, who is 0.3 of a second behind Pienaar.
Yep, now they fighting out for that 6th and 7th position. Remember we spoke about that 12, almost touching on 30 seconds, Luke Ricchese from the man that was in front of him. That's gone down to 9.6, but the further 9 seconds ahead of that is Johan Fourie. So 18 seconds is still the difference between Luke Ricchese and Johan Fourie, starting first and second on the grid, and both of them pretty much on a same kind of pace as what we expected them to be. Just that one error making the difference. Willem Botha taking the opportunity with the Castrol Hyundai to get up into that second position and hold on to it, but I don't think Luke Ricchese is going to have enough time to be able to get back to him, as Peter van der Spy goes for one last gasp effort.
Yeah, they're making their way into, I think, that Sterling's that they're going through now. Yes, and then they're working their way through Clearways. Under the bridge they go now through Clearways. The final corner will be coming up. Pit lane will be there on their right-hand side, as Van der Spy is still in there. Peter van der Spy, 0.3 of a second behind Willem Pienaar, as they make their way down the home straight towards Paddock Hill Bend. Then they'll work their way into Pilgrim's Rise, and then into Druids, and Van der Spy is trying very hard, and here comes Peter van der Spy, but hops on the brakes. He's going to go up on the inside of Druids. Will he nail him in Druids? No, he doesn't. And it's still Pienaar that is fighting to hang on to that 6th position.
See, Frankie's got a chip on the left-hand front corner of his windscreen. I wonder where he picked that up.
I see just under the last lap there of Peter Hubert. You'll see that the chip on the window there. As well, he's going to have a go again. He's not going to back out. He's Peter van der Spy. And the only other fight on track will go there just now is the one between Riddle and Hubert. There's 0.5 of a second between the two of them, as we stick around with this fight for that 6th position between Willem Pienaar and Van der Spy, who's now at 0.2 of a second. Behind him, surely Captain Pete must fancy his chances somewhere. He's had enough time to look at the back end of that Audi ahead of him. So surely he must have worked out now, Gary, when and where he's going to make that move, if he can, on Pienaar.
There's certain areas where Peter van der Spy is quicker than Willem Pienaar, and vice versa. He's slower into the last corner. He's faster in this section. How you like that? Put your car in the middle of the track and just make it nice and difficult. Is he going to be able to? Oh, they make contact. They made contact, and unfortunately, that's going to take Peter. That slowed
They
Peter
both
down.
are.
Yeah,
They
both
both
of
are
them.
because of this, and Van der Spy gains that position.
Wow, that's a turnaround for the books. So that Peter van der Spy, let's have a look at that one. As they come towards the camera shot, here he goes for the inside line. Is he in deep enough? Well, he was about a quarter in. You know what? There actually wasn't contact between them. That is what they call net code. Let's have another look at that. You'll see, Frankie, that they don't actually touch. There's about a half a meter to a meter between them. And look there. They don't actually go and make contact. So that, unfortunately, is one of those things that happens in iRacing, where you think you've still got a bit of space, but the computer says, nah, I think you're too slow. And that was the outcome of that one. So pretty much disappointing for the two of them after that lovely battle. Ian Riddle has got Renier Hubert with just 2 minutes left, all over his back bumper.
Yeah, that's a fight that we wanted to see. So yes, Van der Spy eventually ends up ahead of Riddle, but Van der Spy is in 7th. Riddle is down in 10th. And Andre Steenkamp in all of this moved up into that 6th position. Right, now let's go back to this fight. The one for 10th position between Riddle now and Renier Hubert. So when Riddle thought he had enough of Captain Pete, all of a sudden he's in a fight to hold on to that 10th position, because Renier Hubert is right on his back bumper.
Now, with that incident with Willem Pienaar, you see Willem went off. Unfortunately, Willem Pienaar, when he came back on track, he decided there was too much damage on the motor car, and he in fact went back to the pits, and that's going to cost him very, very dearly. 38 minutes 55 gone. There's not much time left with Willem Pina of that battle ending up in the pits. Oh, look at that. You don't get much closer than that with just probably a lap to go.
Yeah, I said Riddle, I apologize. It's actually a Pina, and as Gary said, he did jump back to the pit lane. So the fight is still on here for that 10th position between Hubert and Riddle. That one has been raging for quite some time between the two of them, and they're going to catch Gerald Mouget. As a matter of fact, they're going to put a lap there if there's enough time on Gerald Mouget. But there's 30 seconds left on the clock, and there's 9.3 seconds between Johan Fourie and Willem Botha in that second position. There goes the Monster Energy Honda of race leader Johan Fourie. Looks like he's slowing it down a bit, is Johan, as a Pina that was involved in that contact early on and jumped into the pits, makes his way back out onto the circuit. But Gary, it's easy pickings now as the 40 minutes is up. So this will be the final lap for race leader Johan Fourie.
Up there you can see the number one with the green closest to the car, the monster car. That is where he is. There's that 3-car battle that's going on in front of him, but he's not going to get involved with that one. 9 seconds from himself to Willem Botha. Luke Lucchesi was 9 behind Willem Botha. He's closed up by 2 seconds, but yeah, it's not going to make a difference. This is the last dip through the Adrian Yokohama Bridge, going into the last corner of Clearways and into Top Straight, and Johan Fourie is going to take the win.
Checkered flag comes out and the lights flash there. Happiness E says Johan Fourie for a victory, and he'll be saying to himself, man, it is a long time since I've seen a checkered flag in P1. Willem Botha, he'll be over the moon as he clips the wall as well. It's been a heck of a long time since Willem has ended in the top 3, and Luke Lucchesi will round off that top 3 by coming home in 3rd position. Gary, and he's 20.8 seconds ahead of that man that will finish in 4th position, Timothy Stanton.
A pretty good drive for Timothy Stanton, I must say. He made the best of the Audi. We know the Audi is very tail happy. Timothy Stanton, the leading Audi out there. Robbie Teens not that far behind him in the Denso car. Robbie comes through. He'll be pretty chuffed with that one. Andre Steenkamp in the Rockstar car was just 4 seconds further back. And then the next man coming into picture there, that is Peter van der Spey. So after that unfortunate mishap that he had, Wayne Kemmage coming through behind him. And then Peter Hubert is a little bit further back. It's Peter Hubert in the Honda.
Yeah, Peter out there in that 9th position. And then 20.4 seconds behind Peter Hubert is Rainier Hubert, that also moved up 7 positions in this race, did Rainier Hubert. And he makes a top 10. And the last driver on the lead lap will be the number 11 car of Ian Riddle. There he goes towards the checkered flag, and Ian moved up 4 positions in the 40-minute race session.
Wow, what an interesting one that was. There's the last car that goes across the line, and he will pick up that position for himself. Pretty interesting stuff, I must say. No doubt about it. A lovely circuit, an enjoyable circuit, and a very interesting race with Johan Fourie and Luke Lucchesi starting off the front row of the grid. And, well, they ended up 1st and 3rd at the end of the day. That was the best that they could do. Just waiting for the results to come alive for us. Let's see what's up yet. Computer taking a bit of time to get the last of the cars out on track onto the grid itself. Let's see if we can pick up that overall race result.
Right, there we go. And that is Johan Fourie, Willem Botha, and Luke Lucchesi. That is your podium. And well done to all of them. Gee, to choose a driver of the day here would be very difficult, because Willem Botha deserves a driver of the day because he's had horrid luck for the last couple of races. Timothy Stanton's done extremely well. Peter van der Spey has done extremely well, and he's picked up fights all over the place. So, yeah, they would be my 3 nominees. Whoever gets it doesn't really make a difference. It's only fun And my bad luck would go to Sandro Bakari, because heaven knows what happened to Sandro Bakari. He just dropped down the leaderboard, and that was the end of that. But that's just my nominations.
Yeah, I think he might have had some connectivity issues
Yeah, I
or
think
something
so.
or other, because, I mean, Sandro, even if he's a lap down, he still keeps on riding. And, yeah, he disappeared. They showed nothing on our telemetry whatsoever, or in terms of accidents or off tracks or back to pits or anything like that. I would say a top drive for the day, out of normal position, hasn't raced much recently. I would tend to go with Timothy Stanton. Bad luck, it just didn't work out for Johan Engelbrecht. It was unfortunate incidents, and the harder he tried, the less it wanted to work for him. And he finds himself ending up down in 12th position. Peter van der Spey, lovely drive, pretty about that incident that he was involved with Willem Pinaar. And I personally, if you look at the replay, I think that it's a bit of a glitch from the iRacing side, because that wasn't that close. Or we saw closer than that on some of the passing maneuvers earlier on, Frankie.
Yeah.
As on that very specific corner where we thought that they were going to be goners and they weren't. So that is what it is. Front row of the grid, start, front end of the field, finish, Johan Fourie. Frankie, closing word from your side. Brilliant race, Brands Hatch, Season 5 Sports and GT Masters Series.
It was as per normal, as per usual. We say this every Wednesday. It was a great race, and we say it because it truly is great racing. And this was another one that for the memory banks. And yeah, from an iRacing point of view, we will see you back in studio next week, Monday, for round 1, season 2 of the Touring Car Challenge. That's from an iRacing point of view. From a real-time racing point of view, the commentary team splits up this weekend with FCN Nieuwoud and Gary Fleming going to Oudtshoorn for an oval track event there, the Klein Karoo Kampioenskappe. And I'll be at Kalani International with Francois Butler and Byron Height this weekend. So we will see you at a racetrack somewhere. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend's racing. And as I said, from an iRacing point of view, we will see you in studio right back here next week, Monday evening.
Yep, yeah. You can't make it to either of the circuits, Kalani International Raceway or Arnold de Jager out in Oudtshoorn. Both of them will be live streamed. One will be by motorsporttv.za and the other one will be by the IMUSAT team at Kalani International Raceway. On Monday night, as Frankie said, the touring cars. Wednesday night, we'll be back with you for the Sports and GT Masters following round. And then on Sunday will be the 6-hour event.
Yeah, I forgot about that, the 6-hour, but I think that's next Sunday. But joining us as well at Kalani this coming weekend will be Emil Brandt from Tiny's Pit Box. So we're looking forward to a great racing weekend. For myself, Frankie Guinness, look after yourselves, and we will see you soon. From my side, goodbye.